Oh, yeah, it's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah?
Welcome, everyone, to episode 363 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The Effin' Marks. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah?
I'm Jay.
And oh, yeah, I am the brainless one, and my Randy Savage isn't as good as it used to be. Oh, yeah. I tried. I did my damnedest. I saw the shirt, and I said, you know what? Let me try the Randy Savage. Not as good as my Hulk Hogan. Sad.
What's up, Chris Brown?
So, Cousin Jay, we have quite a bit to get into this evening. We had NXT Battleground last week. We have Clash at the Castle 2. We're 11 away from Clash at the Castle 13 and getting the never mind. We can no longer get the rematch between the Z-Man and Primetime Brian Lee. But
Rip.
I digress.
Hey, we could get the Black Scorpion versus Sting.
You know, that was another thing they dropped the ball with, just like they did with not having the Iron Sheik at WrestleMania 38. But I digress. But yes, they have Clash of the Castle tomorrow. They've been in Glasgow. It's Glasgow, Scotland, right?
Yep.
They've been in Glasgow. They did their whole little media day today. That crowd is already fire. I cannot wait for tomorrow's show. It's going to be such good shit.
Yeah?
Yeah. But is there anything that you would like to open up the show with discussion-wise, Cousin Jay? Is there anything that has been kind of sticking out to you this week that has happened that you would like to kick off the show with?
Oh, absolutely. And we have a video, and then we're going to discuss the video. That's why we started a few minutes late. This is going to be well worth it. Some things that they're not just lore. They've been discussed many times on the podcast, but they have once again reared their head on TV. But also beyond that, it's just led to some really, really interesting things. Without further ado.
For the record, this is the first time I've seen this, by the way. I have no idea what this is, so I am going to be just as surprised and entertained as everybody else. Can't wait.
And I've always said, maybe once or twice in a lifetime, a Wild Wild West deal will come along, such as the George Foreman Grill, where our agent, Sam Perlmutter, called me and George, but he called me first. I was picking up my kids, so he called George. After he called me and George picked a grill, I got the blender. But I get an idea for a beer that it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter what sex you are, it doesn't matter what race you are, where you're from, what you believe in. I've got a beer that's going to bring America back together, one beer at a time, and it's called Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer, brother.
Can I break kayfabe for like 2 seconds, please? The funniest part about this was, number one, I had no idea what route you were going to go with Hulk Hogan, because it could have been anything. It could have been this beer. It could have been the fact that he mentioned George Foreman getting the grill over him because he was dropping off or picking up the kids from school. It could have been a promo about how the fact that Hulk Hogan is now trying to make this a 4-person race for the president in November 5th. He hasn't put in the paperwork properly like I have, so I will be at the debate debating the angry Cheeto and the dementia patient. I didn't know if it was the route you were going to go. But the thing that made me laugh the most was last week when you and I talked about how we were going to miss the show for a scheduling conflict last week. I said we should be fine unless Hulk Hogan does or says something before Friday and forces us to actually have to, get the podcast in last week. And lo and behold, here we are. And we're talking about fucking Hulk Hogan.
When I saw that clip, I was scrambling before the show. I was like, I've got to find it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And I just found the first source I could that had it. And I had to do a screen capture of it. And I had to quickly cut it together and put it up on our page so I could play that wonderful clip of Hulk Hogan not only rehashing the story of the Foreman Grill, but also how he is going to get world peace through beer. I believe beer has been the catalyst for many fights in the world, but apparently Hulk Hogan, I think his has something special that's going to bring world peace. What do you think about world peace through beer, through Hulk Hogan's beer, brother?
Cousin Jay, I think we both know where the route that the Brainless one is going to go on this. It's a little too late, a little too little, a little too late for Hulk Hogan. The beer ship has sailed. You should have gotten into the business like Rob Van Dam and the Nature Boy and got into edibles. This is coming, Hulk Hogan, from not only a fan of wrestling for the last 35 plus years. This is also coming from somebody who grew up as a Hulkamaniac. You, of all the wrestlers, Hulk Hogan, of all the wrestlers, could completely capitalize on the way marijuana has been distributed and handled throughout the country the last few years. Are you fucking kidding me, Hulk Hogan? You could have actually sold vitamins. And they could have been gummies with THC in them. And by George, Hulk Hogan, I'm telling you, people could be taking your vitamin edibles, and they too will think like they're about to body slam a 700-pound Andre the Giant, killing him 9 days later, tearing every ligament in their back. They too could have felt like they actually wrestled 400 days in a year. They too could have believed that they were partying with Jim Belushi, or is it John Belushi? I always get those two mixed up.
It was John Belushi.
They too could be thinking they were partying with John Belushi after WrestleMania 2 Weekend at Bernie style. Why, of all the wrestlers, Stone Cold coming out with a beer makes sense. The Sandman, if he had came out with a beer, would have made sense. Hell, I mean, if Jake Roberts came out with a beer, it would have made sense. No, Hulk Hogan. You're just trying to capitalize on the fact that Steve Austin now has his line of beer. I know there's wrestlers who have lines of like, I know
Bischoff has his own beer.
I know that like all these people either have beer. I know The Rock's got like tequila or whiskey or something like that. I know all these people are trying to get into the alcohol game. So of course, like, here we go. Here comes Hulk Hogan, brother. The All-American beer from Hulk Hogan.
He's bringing the country together, brother.
It hurts my heart to see the man who is single-handedly the reason that this individual, the Brainless one, exists for the last 363 episodes of this show, and many, many years prior when I was unofficially the Brainless one, even though I was technically the Brainless one. To see him like this, I mean, it could have been fine. The whole year we would have been fine. After he was able to take out L. Ron Hubbard, hit him with the big boot, drop the leg drop, 1, 2, 3. L. Ron Hubbard got beat by Hulk Hogan, the only person ever to defeat Scientology, Hulk Hogan. We could have gotten away with the fact that you saved the bus that was on fire on the highway. You saved all the nursery school kids and the 27 puppies and the 11 kittens. We could have
Yeah.
been okay with that, Hulk Hogan. But no. You had to go and get into the beer game. Who the hell, I mean, honestly, who the hell's really going to go out there and drink Hulk Hogan's beer? Somebody, please, anybody tell me.
I believe the Hulk Hogan's restaurant down in Clearwater, Florida, probably just made an order of it.
Oh, I mean, that's just, yeah. And a bunch of dudes in their 50s who have beer bellies and just like, hey, I grew up with Hulk Hogan, and they're buying their beer for him.
Brother.
Yeah, I just, no. Do we want to talk about, since we're on the topic of Hulk Hogan, do we want to talk about the fact that he has thrown his hat into the ring of death to become the next president of the United States?
Why not? We're already on him.
And
I mean, he wouldn't be any worse than our current choices. Quite honestly, he lies just as well as they do. Well, he lies better than them because it's more entertaining than what the other two characters come up with. I mean, one of them, was at a meeting with all the world leaders and like forgot what direction to point himself and wandered off. I think he was going searching for Oz because he had just seen Who Killed WCW episode 1 and heard Welcome to Oz, and he started going, in that direction. And Kevin Nash said, wait a minute, man. Oz is a place, not a person.
no, it's not Kevin Nash. I mean, he's like,
hey.
If you don't like the other two choices, nobody will bring world peace like Hulk Hogan. I'm convinced now he did this because of his beer.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Because there's no way, shape, or form that we already have one guy who, like you say, doesn't know if today is Friday or Pluto.
Right.
You got another guy who's just angry and shouts at people. And then you have the dark horse candidate to the next president, a man who has been co-hosting the greatest wrestling podcast for the last 8 years, almost.
Yeah.
Who definitely lives the gimmick better than anybody else, especially, the other two candidates.
Right, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, the one thing that I have going for me, as opposed to the other two, and if you throw in Hulk Hogan, I have Father Time on my side. I'm obviously Hulk Hogan. I am absolutely convinced that you are going to live like Tom Hanks in The Green Mile, where you're going to be living till you're 137 years old. Just like when Joe Louis boxed Rocky Marciano.
He was 75 years old when they fought.
Oh, 75 when he fought.
Yeah, but he was 137 years old when Frank Sinatra went to the barber shop.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not Scott Steiner. I'm not getting my numbers correctly. I apologize.
Yeah. Hey, that's why I'm here.
Exactly. Because you are the brains of the outfit. And I would be the brains of the outfit. But, as the title says, kind of lacking somewhere.
Yeah.
In the brains department. Yeah. But I'm going to beat both of them. And you just throw Hulk Hogan in there. I could just see it now. The moderator. All right, Hulk, what could you tell me about foreign affairs? Well, let me tell you something, brother. I remember when I was over in England and we were doing SummerSlam, and I had this Make-A-Wish kid that I made this deal with, and this kid had some weird stench to him, brother. But me and Jimmy Hart, we made an album together, brother, and we made it for this kid. And in the process, we were able to bring Simon Cowell to the United States, brother, and that's when he came up with the idea for American Idol, brother, because he told me, Hulk, you're an American Idol, brother.
That's 100% true.
Hulk, what are your feelings on travel and how it affects the ozone layer. Well, let me tell you something, brother. It wasn't a problem for me, the Hulkster, back in 1984 when I wrestled 400 days in a year, brother. I did a lot of flying, too, going back from Japan to the United States, brother. So I probably had something to do with that, but that's okay. I have my beer, brother. I just want to see him at the debates just because I want to see the curveballs they throw at Hulk Hogan and what kind of verbal gymnastics he uses to get himself to sound a lot better and smarter with the answers. That's all I want.
I would want them to replay a clip of the Gawker trial when he when he says that Hulk Hogan's penis is longer than Terry Bollea's. Yeah.
It's Stormy Daniels is there. Oh, that probably wouldn't end very well because, you know, he's got Sky Daily and then Stormy. Sky and Stormy. No. That'll be the apocalypse.
I'm just saying, brother.
I'm just saying. But hey, good on Hulk. You might as well just ride the gravy train as best as you can while you still can, when you still have any kind of, you know, name value to your name, Hulk Hogan. I plan on drinking absolutely zero of your beers because I don't trust them. I don't know what's going to be in them, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be just alcohol and hops.
Brother.
But man, that was not where I thought the show was going to start. So bravo to you, sir. I was not expecting that. I enjoyed that. Anytime we can mention Hulk Hogan, it's always a pleasure.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, so you did bring up Ric Flair and him getting into, you know, the marijuana market. It seems like perhaps he took some of that this week and had a little bit of an outburst on the X and said that there were exactly 3 people who killed WCW, one of which had nothing to do with the very end of it. Jim Herd. He just put Jim Herd's name out there because he hated the fact that Jim Herd made him cut his hair and wanted him to be called Spartacus. I mean, Jim Herd certainly led to a decline in popularity to some extent, but I'm going to say Ole Anderson and his booking didn't help either. I mean, outside of Clash 13, I mean, that's a high watermark for anybody. But saying Jim Herd, Eric Bischoff, and Vince Russo are the 3-headed monster that are to blame for this. Then he goes out and Russo responded to him in some way, shape, or form. And then Ric Flair decided to challenge Russo, Bischoff, and Herd to a fight. $20,000 apiece. He'd pay them, and then he'd book the house and rent the house, and then they'd be able to put it on pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure Jim Herd has been dead for a little while.
They cross them off.
But it's like, hey man, we already saw the last match 2 years ago where you had a heart attack, maybe multiple heart attacks because you fell asleep. Even you were so bored, you had a heart attack and fell asleep during your last match. We don't need to see any more matches. Bischoff didn't respond to this at all, but bro, he just had to respond, bro, to Ric Flair, bro, because, bro, he was bringing some stuff, bro.
Apparently, Eric Bischoff came out and addressed it with Ric Flair and said some things. And somehow, some way, Ric Flair and Eric Bischoff communicated, which led to Ric Flair apologizing later on, saying that he said a few things. I called each one of them and apologized, which is even better now because it was bad enough when Hulk Hogan was hanging out with John Belushi getting absolutely shithoused when he was dead. But the fact that Ric Flair is now calling Jim Herd and apologizing to him for the comments, that's just... He wants to wrestle a dead guy just like Hulk Hogan likes to party with a dead guy. So, but apparently he's going to go on the 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff, and they're going to kind of talk about this. This all has to tie in with the fact that Ric Flair is still severely butthurt that he is not part of this whole documentary about what killed WCW. He made it publicly known. Of course he's going to come out and say some shit. And quite frankly, he is 2/3 of the way correct. You can't really blame Jim Herd for the end of WCW. I have not watched the first 2 episodes yet. I'm waiting for all 4 because if they're a 4-part set, I need to watch them all back to back to back. Granted, I could probably just go back, but it's very hard for me to not watch it too, so it's probably going to end up happening at some point. Anyway, I can guarantee you this. Eric Bischoff played a huge role in the death of WCW, and Vince Russo absolutely played a huge role in the death of WCW. So I don't see why or how Ric Flair is actually wrong in this. Is at least say those 2. I mean, Vince Russo, in the words of James E. Cornette, is a shit stain. He absolutely, if you look up the definition of shit stain in the dictionary, it's a picture of Vince Russo.
Okay.
It's not a skid mark inside of a pair of underwear. No, it's Vince Russo. But it's amazing. We're starting off the show with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. This is not 1987. This is 2024. What's next? Are we going to talk about? Let's see. Who could we talk about? Who else can we talk
this
about?
week on AEW,
oh God, Sting was there.
Glacier showed up.
No, he didn't. Did he really?
He did. He was one of the people. I think there was like some sort of pull-apart brawl backstage, and he was one of the producers or whatever behind the scenes that was helping to keep wrestlers apart. Somebody took a snap of it and said, "Is that Glacier?" And it was. So, I mean, we could keep on burying ourselves in nostalgia. I mean, I heard that Cousin Chris once again has a job as a manager.
My God, Cousin Jay. Joe Hendry is going to be, I'm calling it right now. Joe Hendry is going to be the biggest star in WWE in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
The dude can wrestle, and I've been watching a lot of his clips. What's the saying? I believe in Joe Hendry. I cannot believe I'm saying this about a contracted TNA Impact wrestler. I believe in Joe Hendry. I am a Joe Hendry fan. I want to see whatever he's got. I want to see it. And the fact that now he holds a special place in my heart because our dear cousin Chris is now his manager, making this so much better. Because now people are going to want to see Cousin Chris more than they're going to want to see the 2 douchebag EVPs that are wrestling on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's good on Cousin Chris. I'm glad to see it. And don't they have a pay-per-view? Is it this weekend that they have something going on? Slammiversary or something like that? Is that tonight or tomorrow maybe?
I wouldn't think they would want to run Slammiversary opposite of WWE's Clash at the Castle, although I think Clash of the Castle was not announced like way early. So, I mean, it's possible.
But Clash of the Castle is going to be on at like 10 o'clock in the morning because they're in Scotland.
Yeah, it's like 1 in the afternoon.
Something like that. I don't know what those people. I haven't cared about the UK since 1776.
All right, Chris Brown saying there's a possibility of AJ and the Good Brothers making an appearance at Slammiversary in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Is it in 2 weeks?
That's what he's saying.
Okay.
Chris Brown said for Who Killed WCW, Bischoff, Russo, and Hogan, you could certainly put a case forth of those 3 being big names. But, you know, in the first part, I haven't seen part 2 yet, but the first part, they have one of the executives from Turner / AOL. More or less, the story that you get is that Ted Turner wanted wrestling. Nobody else in his company did. So as long as Ted was in control, screw you all. I like wrestling. We're going to keep doing wrestling. But once Ted ended up signing or selling his shares in the company, then all bets were off, and clearly that happened really quickly. But so yeah, if you're talking from the wrestling side, I think those are the three names that are correct. But I would also like to add the caveat of WCW would have died a lot sooner if it weren't for Bischoff and Hogan. Because again, the documentary kind of gets into, WCW is kind of a sinking ship, and we needed to change things up, and we were not going to be able to compete with WWE unless we got top name talent. So we needed to get Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan was the catalyst for everything. Without him, the NWO does not work as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that they even pitched the idea of Sting, he would not have fit in with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Not that I don't think Sting
not the
could fit
same
in
way.
with them. Not the same way. What Hogan did that night is so legendary. The fact that two of the most legendary moments, in my opinion, the two most legendary moments in wrestling history are Hogan slamming the Giant at WrestleMania 3. We could joke about it all we want. That's still the biggest moment in wrestling history for me. And Hogan turning at Bash of the Beach 96 are the two biggest moments in wrestling history. So I get that. And he just, everything about it, like, I always wonder, like, what the internet would have been like back then when Hulk Hogan turned and joined the NWO. I really do think
the internet was a thing, but it was not what it is now.
Right.
I mean, it was much smaller, and the IWC was just not, it was very small potatoes back then.
Yeah. But, like, imagine, like, social media being back there when Hulk Hogan leg dropped Randy Savage and joined the NWO. Twitter would have melted.
Right.
It's crazy. And yes, you're absolutely right. Without Hulk Hogan, a lot of this doesn't happen. They don't have the NWO without Hulk Hogan. We don't have the Monday Night Wars without Hulk Hogan. However, I still think that Eric Bischoff getting too big for his britches is what ultimately led to the decline of what was happening in WCW. And it just kind of avalanched, rolling downhill, and ultimately cost them the company in a couple of years.
So one thing that Bischoff has talked about a lot over the years is when they were extremely profitable, when they were winning and couldn't stop beating WWE, that's when Turner specifically asked them to do a second show. And to me, that is one of those things that Tony Khan needs to look at. I know it's nice, the money that you're getting paid from TNT and TBS right now, Warner Brothers Discovery. I know that's
Right.
nice to have that extra money for doing Rampage, and why am I blanking on the other show right now? Collision. I know it's nice to get that money, but the show has gone downhill so much since he took on those other two shows, since he took on Ring of Honor. It used to be a good watchable program, but between that and Cody Rhodes leaving, it has now become a crap show.
That's an understatement.
But Bischoff back then, specifically when they started Thunder, he was like, this is too much. I need to have like two separate crews, and we can't have people are coming here to wrestle less than they used to, and I need to have separate, more or less like a brand split where I've got these people here and these people there, and I'm taking my roster and cutting it in half so you don't get all the superstars on this show. And then you got, again, people like Hogan, who Hogan had creative control and said, oh, yep, not going to work for me, brother. So, yeah, that led to the downfall, but they don't have an upswing without Hulk Hogan. They don't have an upswing without Eric Bischoff. As much as they also led to the demise, WCW would have ended it in the mid-90s instead of early 2000s.
Honest to goodness, though, if I was Eric Bischoff and I beat Vince McMahon in WWE for 83 weeks, I too in 2024 would be coming out here whipping my dick out like he does. Absolutely. He has every right to. He is the only person to go up against Vince McMahon and beat him. You got Tony Khan, like you were saying. Tony Khan has got all this stuff on his plate. He lost Cody Rhodes, so he lost a lot of his direction with how they do the shows and everything. Because it did. If you notice that the shit really went downhill after Cody left. I don't know if that was when before or after he found out Tony Khan was, doing blow in the background. It's the fact that he's got all this shit now on his plate. He's already doing all this stuff with the Jaguar. He's doing all this stuff with their Premier League soccer team that they have. The dude looks like he hasn't slept in 6 months. He is starting to look more and more like his biological father, Herb Abrams. And it's crap, Jay. You hit the nail on the head. It is crap. But like he said, he came out and said, I booked for the sickos. Because that's what I am. That's why we get these matches where dudes are sitting there hitting each other back and forth with Canadian destroyers and just getting up like it was nothing. This is why we have guys that are doing 75 flippity-doos into a pile of barbed wire and still kicking out at 1. Because he panders to the sickos, to the Dave Meltzers and people. The fact that he came out here and AEW is like, we're claiming that WWE is feeding false numbers of our ratings to these dirt sheet pages and saying this stuff. They claim that WWE was feeding stuff to Forbes Sports about stuff for AEW because they're like, oh, AEW Collision did 120,000. And they're like, oh, what it really was like 200 and something. Is it really that big of a difference? When you had Pepsi Phil running the Collision show, you were getting at least what you were expecting from your Dynamite numbers when you first started, and then you guys shot that freaking million plus, and then you're like, oh, we're really doing something here. Haven't grown, buddy. You've only shrunk. And now you got Collision that's getting 200,000. I don't even know what the Rampage numbers are. I'm sure that WrestleMania episode that we did a few years ago that went 4.5 hours got more views than any episode of Rampage. They were talking about this. They did so well on Wednesday when they were, quote unquote, kicking NXT's ass every Wednesday that NXT moved to Tuesdays. And now NXT beat Dynamite after Bryan Alvarez came out and said, NXT is not beating Dynamite this week. And they lost by 30,000. And all the AEW sickos came out and they were like, they were going up against the NBA Finals. There was some soccer match that was on. What? Who in this country watches soccer? I know you watch soccer, but and FMR's Hall of Famer El Jefe watches soccer, but like who? Like, I don't really watch soccer. I watch the World Cup because it's the World Cup.
Yeah.
But like to say this, and it's like, you realize that at this time last year, the NBA Finals were also going on. You were also competing against the AEW final, or the NBA Finals last year, and you still got over 800,000 this time last year. And now you dropped over 100,000 views in a year. His problem is like he said, he's booking for the sickos. He's got way too much shit on his plate. And the people that are in his ear telling him what he needs to do as an owner, president, booker, part-time in-ring performer are guys who wear exploding sneakers and call themselves the Learning Tree. That's what the problem is. Tony Khan has way too many people. Too many chefs are in the kitchen, but none of them want to be the main chef to book that show properly. The Swedish chef would be a better booker than Tony Khan. I'm sorry. And the fact that The Undertaker this week did an interview and said he actually likes the fact that AEW is here because it gives people an alternative. However, if they ever want to be successful, Tony Khan is not the guy that you need to be booking the show. Cousin Jay, what do you think? Do you agree with The Undertaker? Should Tony Khan give up the reins as head booker, put somebody else in charge, or just take more coke and just keep doing what he's doing, booking 4 shows and handling the Jaguars?
I have no problem with him booking Dynamite. Don't book anything else. Don't be the head producer of anything else. Concentrate on one show. You know, he is not built up the tolerance, like, let's say, the dastardly Voldemort
The genetic
did of years of like figuring out what to do, when to do it, making sure things got done, and being able to bark orders at people to get crap done when it needed to get done.
Right.
I think Tony Khan could do a perfectly good and adequate job of booking one show. And even if he's the one overall who's saying this is the direction we're going, but give like Rampage to somebody, give Collision to somebody else. Let them do that. And you just sit there with your Coke bag and your napkin and write down all your sicko ideas and do that.
Yes. That's going to be I'm going to try to do something for a sicko whenever we talk about Tony Khan. That's going to be the new thing. I got to come up with like a sicko laugh. Yes.
Stakes and weights.
Stakes and weights, baby. And he's booking for people like Dave Meltzer. That's what I don't get. Like, Meltzer's so lost and out of touch. Like, it's ridiculous. I wanted to like it so much, Jay. You and I
thought
know
it was really good the first year and a half or 2 years.
I gave him a chance. I did everything I could. I actually became a fan of people like Orange Cassidy and the Danhausen, who, for whatever reason, has been missing and has been wrestling in GCW more recently than he's wrestled in AEW. But, like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's bringing in too many people. Remember when everybody was making a big deal about Camille signing with AEW? What has Camille done in AEW?
The same amount as Mercedes Moné.
I mean, if we have to give,
no,
if I have to give her the benefit of the doubt, I have to brace myself for giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
To be fair, at least Mercedes Moné wrestled a match.
That's true.
She's given some of the shittiest promos I have ever seen, and I'm so glad that I don't waste 2 hours of my life every Wednesday watching that garbage, because as brainless as I am, I can't do any more damage to my mental health. So 2 hours of Dynamite every week just cannot happen. Because if I have to listen to her talk, or if I have to watch, somebody like Nick Camaretto wrestle, if I just have to see the Bucks, I just can't. I have to get up and walk away. I just can't do it. I cannot subject myself. We've come to the point, Cousin Jay, now where Monday, you ready for this? Monday Night Raw is the most must-watch wrestling show every single week. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Wow. I mean, this 180 that you have done on Monday Night Raw might be one of the longest 180s you've ever done in your life.
And honestly, and it's not because I'm having a different opinion, because it's the same crap and garbage that they flushed down our throats for 3 years. Triple H has turned Monday Night Raw back into the A show. They have the most compelling storylines going right now. People are so fully vested. By the way, Ricochet's contract is coming up at the end of July, I believe it is. And they basically did an angle on Monday where they were going to write him off TV, and people were upset. And he did. Bron Breakker, Real Glass, Crimea Rivered, Ricochet to AEW. And the fans revolted. They were like, how are you going to do this to Ricochet? You just wrote him off in the worst possible way. Oh, really? You're all just lucky that I didn't have enough time to compose a list of 10 times WWE has written off people that were much worse than Ricochet. I couldn't think of 10 off the top of my head. But I do remember one time when Chris Jericho left in 2005 to tour with Fozzy, that John Cena dumped him in the back of a garbage truck.
And Duke Droese drove him off into the sunset.
Yes. There's been a lot of times they used to beat people senseless. They used to take them out and incapacitate them. People would see them one week on WWE getting thrown off a building, and then the following week they're all elite, or they were in, what's Lex Luger doing in the
Mall of America?
Yes. Like think about this. This is how it's been. They do this stuff all the time. Why is it now they have a problem with Ricochet getting written off like that? That's what I just don't understand. Like the fans have just kind of made this the way that they did, and
I mean, it definitely seems like it is the end times for Ricochet with WWE for the moment. The bigger question on my mind: what does this mean for Ricochet's fiance? Samantha Irvin, ring announcer extraordinaire, who most people love. There is a percentage of people out there who really don't like her, but I'd say by and large, people love Samantha Irvin, the way she announces and the passion she brings in the ring into her job. Do you believe she sticks around WWE, or do you believe she will follow Ricochet? Will she ricochet with Ricochet?
Number one, I just wanted to be known how incredibly disappointed I am in WWE's booking of Ricochet in his 5 to 6 years that he's been in the company. I think it's 6 years now. I am a huge Ricochet fan. I've been a fan of his since his Prince Puma days in Lucha Underground. The kid is a hell of a talent. He's a hell of a high flyer. Of all the people in professional wrestling in my 35 years, Ricochet's my guilty pleasure to watch wrestler, because he's different. Because I'm the guy who likes big, meaty men beating the shit out of each other and tag team matches. Those have always been my two favorite things in wrestling. Ricochet is neither of those, and he was a lot of fun to watch. So I'm very sad to see him go. I'm hoping that somehow, some way, he has a change of heart. Maybe he realizes that the grass isn't always greener in Tony Khan's backyard. Maybe he realizes he's not going to get the money or the exposure anywhere else. If he goes back to New Japan, I wouldn't be. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if he went back to New Japan. But Samantha Irvin, even if Ricochet leaves, I don't see Samantha Irvin leaving. They had to kind of do the thing with her storyline-wise, because a lot of people know, because wrestlers have brought it up in previous feuds with Ricochet, that Samantha Irvin is his fiance or wife. I think they're married now, or they're about to get married. So they had to kind of add her into this. I don't see her going. I know that they like to do the things where they let the couples stay on whatever brands that the couples are on. But realize Zelina Vega is in WWE. Aleister Black is in AEW. Buddy Murphy's in AEW. Rhea Ripley is in WWE for now as well. Keith Lee is in AEW. Mia Yim is in NXT and WWE. So it could work. She doesn't have to go. They're going to offer her a shit ton of money to stay, though. She is going to be the highest paid announcer in the business, and AEW is not going to look to want to pay her that kind of money to be the voice of Rampage and Collision, because they're not going to bump Justin Roberts from the AEW from Dynamite. They're not going to do it, because I'm sure that the Jannetty boys will have a hard time if Justin Roberts is not their ring announcer. And I am a huge fan of her. I would back up the Brinks truck. I would pay her more than the $15 million they're paying Roman Reigns, because she is that good. She's Howard Finkel level to me.
I agree. She isn't going anywhere, and the cases you state are all the reason why I believe she'll stay. And with her being a ring announcer, she is a complement to this show. She's an additive thing. She's not the main part of the show. If part of the thing is you want to get exposure and be really good at what you do, you get more exposure in WWE than you will AEW. So I say she stays. But you did bring up the two Giannettis, and I just have to. I mean, we've been taking a long walk down memory lane. We wished a big congratulations last month to Marty Jannetty for getting married and possibly still having two legs. Last week, Marty Jannetty said, sadly, I'm getting divorced, and said that he was stabbed in the back by two people that he loved.
Hookers and cocaine.
I have my own theories, but I am not going to share them here.
You don't think that Shawn Michaels had sex with his wife, do you?
No. But I do. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I think there may have been a menage a trois, and I think some people that were at the wedding may have been involved. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's sad when the benchmark is a Kardashian marriage as to what the shortest of shorts, because she was married for like
70 days or so.
So Chris Humphries, the dude who ended up with the Celtics for like a hot cup of coffee.
Who are about to win the NBA title.
Yes, they are. And I almost wore my Celtics hat tonight, but I didn't want to jinx them. Because my father would actually, he wouldn't even drive down here or fly down here. He would storm down here and kick my ass if I wore the Celtics hat and they lost this series.
And much like your sister's fashion, that quick.
Oh yeah, it would be like watching the Ultimate Warrior come out to the ring all coked out.
Mm.
What the hell is that? Is that the Ultimate? Oh fuck. That would be my reaction. Is that the Ultimate? Oh fuck me.
Yeah, but just
clothesline.
Marty Jannetty just makes a lot of bad decisions. A lot of bad decisions. I wish the man well. I hope he gets his crap together. I don't see it happening.
Jay, there's a whole episode of Dark Side of the Ring that proves he's never going to get his shit together. That's the best part about Dark Side of the Ring, is that they give you this outlet to watch all these people and watch them not get their shit together. And then you wonder, are they going to get their shit together? Look at Nick Gage. Does Nick Gage look like he got his shit together?
God. Hey, to be fair, it seems like maybe Sandman kind of has his stuff together at this point. Maybe. I don't think he's.
I'll give him that.
I don't think he's like, going to be like next to Jesus or anything like that. But he's not dead yet, and it sounds like for all the crap he put his family through, like his family's like, yeah, he sounds like they actually believe that he's changed and actually does want to be a decent human being, and yeah,
he's in my Rushmore of ECW wrestlers. The Sandman. It's him. It's RVD. It's Mikey Whipwreck. Shit, how do I include the Dudley Boys in that? I'm just gonna count them as one. The Dudley Boys. Boom. There's my Rushmore.
Yeah.
The Sandman was so cool. But yeah, you're right. The Sandman's one of the ones that actually looks like he got his shit together. I mean, obviously there was other happy stories and all of that, but with like Marty Jannetty, come on, Jay.
Hey,
you really think
I don't think there are any people that are outside of the realm of hope. I think that there's hope, but I think like literally, I think the margin of hope for Jannetty is. I might be making it a little bit too big here.
it's enhanced to show to show what it is, to see how close it is. I enhanced it so we could actually see what it looks like.
It just like
Jay,
I don't want the dark story to end darkly.
cousin Jay.
I would like the light. I would like Luke Skywalker to come in and make the correct choice and not kill his father. I would like Marty Jannetty to stop doing stupid things.
Cousin Jay, you and I both
Save the universe, Marty Jannetty.
In the words of the late, great John Candy from one of my all-time favorite movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, you have a better chance of picking up sticks with your butt cheeks than you do of Marty Jannetty not being a total fucking wacko. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. That poor man has not been the same since he ran face first into the barbershop window after Shawn Michaels super kicked him and gave him CTE. Somebody even posted
well,
that.
I mean, wait. I just need to correct you for a second. Marty Jannetty ran his own head through the window.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we had that straight. Bobby the Brain Heenan mentioned that, and I know that he is a broadcast journalist.
Yes.
And he would never, ever, ever make anything up.
I mean, to be fair, he said Ric Flair was winning the 1992 Royal Rumble. It's not his fault that Gorilla Monsoon didn't listen to him, okay? I'm just stating facts. Bobby Heenan, and to this day, Bobby Heenan is the greatest wrestling personality of all time. It's not even close. I don't care what anybody says. That man is the GOAT. He is beyond the GOAT. He is the GOAT of the GOATs. So if Bobby Heenan said it, it makes sense. I was thinking about this the other day. What if, and this is a crazy what if instead of it being Shawn Michaels that turned on Marty Jannetty and then watched Marty Jannetty dive through the pane glass window while Shawn Michaels just watched, what if it was Marty Jannetty that had turned on Shawn Michaels instead? Is that a little too deep? Because I heard things that Marty Jannetty at one point was actually the better performer between him and Shawn Michaels.
I wouldn't doubt that. And the thing is like even after the barbershop, you know, Jannetty was a tag team champion, was an intercontinental champion. He's over the Coco Beware line, although they will not let him whiff the WWE Hall of Fame.
Blame him?
No, not at all. The man claims to possibly have killed somebody.
I mean, didn't Scott Hall kill somebody and Razor Ramon's in the Hall of Fame?
So Scott Hall was exonerated because it was in self-defense. Like with Jannetty, like he claims it was self-defense, but literally he's the only one alive to tell the story. And the story he told sounded like somebody who may have done some drugs before telling the story and then gave the vaguest description of,
events that happened.
Yeah.
It's like getting a story from Hulk Hogan. I mean, who would tell the best story between Hulk Hogan and Marty Jannetty? Maybe that's the discussion we need to have. Because I'll say this, yes, even if Marty Jannetty was a better in-ring performer than Shawn Michaels, Shawn Michaels was still good. Shawn Michaels had the it factor. That's one thing I will say about Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels knew he was a five-tool star. He could wrestle, he could sell, he could talk on the microphone, he had a presence about him, and he could get a reaction from the fans. Shawn Michaels was the total package. Marty Jannetty was just the butt of a lot of jokes about every tag team that ever separates in the history of professional wrestling after the whole incident at the barbershop. But yes, he is above the Coco Beware line, and they could put him in. For crying out loud, they put Sunny in. The great Khali.
They should kick her out, quite honestly.
They should. They should take. I'm sorry. Her and Superfly Snuka both need to be out of the Hall of Fame. If you're going to keep Chris Benoit out of the Hall of Fame, you got to take those two out. I am sorry. You can keep Hulk Hogan in there because I can't justify some of the things he said over the years, but he's apologized for it, and it's just remarks. Not to discount what he said. He didn't kill anybody. Sonny killed somebody. Superfly Snuka killed somebody. I mean, hell, the
Both
Great
found
Khali
guilty.
hell, the Great Khali did too, but obviously accidents get overlooked. That's why Rey Mysterio's in the Hall of Fame. But if you're gonna keep people like Marty Jannetty out, you got to take people out like Superfly Snuka and Sonny. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, in with Jannetty, I think it's more than just he may have accidentally killed somebody. It's drug issues and all sorts of other things. Like, wasn't there a time where he may have been attempting or maybe possibly slept with his daughter? I mean,
yeah, I think that was a thing.
There's an awful lot of stuff like that it's like
I could make a comment right now about Jannetty sleeping with his daughter, but I don't want to upset anybody, and I'm trying to be nice. I'm saving I'm saving my vitriol for AEW later. Ooh.
Anyway.
Since we were on the thing with Dark Side of the Ring, do you know how I can actually get a hold of them to give them ideas for episodes of Dark Side of the Ring?
I would say tweet at them.
I have the best idea, and I know for a fact that you would be 100% on board with one specific episode of Dark Side of the Ring if they did it. Just because
what happened at Clash 13?
What happened at Clash 13. If there was a wrestling show, they wanted to do the Brawl for All, and it made sense. They wanted to do, what was it, Bash 2000, I think it was? Great America.
Yeah, they did Bash at the Beach 2000.
They could do one on Clash 13. They really could. And just think, they could bring in the Big Cat. And they could bring in the Motor City Madman. And they could bring in Primetime Brian Lee. And they can bring in, I don't know, maybe not Michael
Lex Luger. Maybe Botswana Beast. Maybe Kalua.
Yeah, I mean, that's an episode that I really do think, and I'm not just saying this as somebody who has watched Clash 13 more times than I care to admit, but I am absolutely convinced that is one of the most perfect shows to do it, just because it would give such a good idea of what was happening backstage. Maybe they could talk about how Ole was fired because of this. I really do think that this is, and I'm just not, I'm not saying this to pander to you and the fans of the podcast and myself. I really truly think that they should do this as an episode, and I think it would be done very well.
Right.
I'm going to try tweeting at them. I'm going to
I mean, there are quite a few people who aren't alive that to tell the story, but I mean, if they got the Stinger, Lex Luger, maybe you could get the son of Ole Anderson, who clearly knows a lot of what his dad did, maybe to speak on it. I think Jim Cornette may still have been with WCW at the time, so he might be able to chime in about that. Unfortunately, El Gigante isn't around anymore. Tracy Smothers isn't around anymore. We wouldn't be able to get commentary from Paul Heyman. We wouldn't be able to get commentary from Michael P.S. Hayes, but maybe we get some Jimmy Jam Garvin and Jim Ross. By the way, Jim Ross on the men, good for good old JR.
That Missy Hyatt stuff will do that to you.
Yeah.
Don't think I forgot about that good old JR. But I like that idea, Cousin Jay. I'm going to tweet at them. I'm going to pitch that to them.
All right.
Speaking of people in WWE, and the fact that we have a Clash basically happening, it's not a Clash 13, but it's a Clash at the Castle tomorrow.
Yes.
One of the matches that's being booked is the Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. However, Chad Gable's contract expired, I believe it was last Friday.
So there are a couple of things at play here. There's some belief out there that he signed a short extension, and there's even more belief that they will re-sign him to a long-term deal. WWE feels pretty strongly that they're going to be able to re-sign him. So that certainly could throw predictions in a different direction, possibly, depending on what you believe out there. And if you think they'll finally pull the trigger with Chad Gable, or if this is just a red herring.
I think he resigned. I can't see him going to AEW and doing anything other than wrestle like 8 times a year. If he doesn't like his position in WWE, he's going to hate it in AEW. That's why I don't understand why people are like, yes, I understand you're going to get paid a shit ton of money to maybe work 12 times a year. But you're not going to have that competitive edge. You're not going to be utilized. You're not going to make money in merchandise if you're not there. Because if people don't see it, they're not going to buy your merch. Unless you're Steve Austin.
Right.
But,
or John Cena.
Yeah?
Yeah?
I think they have it done. And if they have it done and they bring back Chad Gable, I want him to lose tomorrow so that we get Perk Gable going forward. The most dangerous wrestler in the history of the sport is Percocet Kurt Angle. That's all I'm going to say. I need that. I need Kurt Angle. I need Chad Gable to go full on Kurt Angle heel. I want them to. They're trying to. They need to give him a song that kind of lets it fit where they can start chanting, "You suck" at him. You all were trying to promote the wrong member of American Alpha as the next Kurt Angle. It wasn't Jason Jordan. He had the personality of a blank piece of paper. He cut a promo like a blank piece of paper. Let's be fair.
And he passed on that ability to Jack Perry.
Well, clearly he didn't get it from Luke Perry. But Chad Gable has been absolutely, ever since that poor guy used to be Shorty G, and has kind of rebounded and has made himself into a bigger star. And he's fighting for the Intercontinental Championship. I do believe he's winning it tomorrow. And if he doesn't win it, there's only 2 scenarios for me. He's either winning it tomorrow or Otis is turning on him. There's no in between. I have not decided. That is the one match that I've kind of been on the fence on all week. I don't know who to choose because I have no idea if he has signed or not. And even if he has signed, it's not even a guarantee he's going to win. It could still be a slow burn because there's ways out of this. The fact that they're saying that they offered him the Intercontinental title is kind of like the bargaining chip. Like, if you stay, we'll give you the Intercontinental title. So I'm excited to see this. I really do think he has re-signed. I mean, it's possible he pulled the Johnny Gargano and just signed, or the Adam Cole, baby, and signed the short-term extension, and then adios himself to Dynamite, where he's on Rampage in 3 months. And then 200,000 people tune in to watch him on Collision in about 6 months. But yeah. I'm curious to see because that plays a big factor in the predictions for later. Sure. I do think in my heart of hearts that they re-signed Chad Gable. He's really proven himself, especially ever since Vince McMahon stepped down and he's no longer in the way, and he's no longer shushing people.
Right.
So.
All right.
Yeah?
So with them being in Scotland, the nation in their Wrestling Hall of Fame took it upon themselves and thought it was very timely, and they're correct in doing this. Drew McIntyre has been inducted into the Scottish Wrestling Hall of Fame. I mean, it's not quite the F and Marks Hall of Fame, but I mean, what is?
By God, Cousin Jay, if there's anybody who has a shot, like an outside shot of getting into our Hall of Fame this year, it's Drew McIntyre.
He's been on fire.
He's been one of my favorites since the beginning of this year. He is just absolutely killing it. I follow him on Twitter now just because he's that entertaining. The guy is fantastic. He is now the chosen one. I know it's a little too late, like it was when Vince first called him the chosen one, and then put him in an air guitar band with Heath Slater and the Jinder and called him 3MB and then released him. He didn't even get his name in the headline. He goes, I wasn't even one of the headlining people in the releases. He goes, and I'm headlining 10 years later. Good for Drew, really. I really am. I'm happy for Drew. He got the contract. He is the star that everybody thinks he is. You gotta applaud him for his abilities, because the one story that people are the most compelled with on Raw, outside of this keep it house, is CM Punk and freaking Drew. And then neither one of them's wrestling. That's another match, and I'm like, I have no idea how they're going to do it. Because I really, truly, in my heart of hearts, feel like they're going to let Drew have this moment in his home country. However, I could see CM Punk randomly showing up in Scotland to kind of
throw water at him.
And to throw water at him and pull the rug from underneath him again. I really don't know. This is a beautiful thing, Cousin Jay. We talked about it for years, how predictable WWE is. Now here we are, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're going to do. I really don't. There's only one match outcome tomorrow that I'm absolutely 100% convinced of that outcome. I really am. That's it. Just one. All the other ones, I might as well just put the matches in my hat and just pull a match, an outcome out of my hat. Because that's about how good it would be. That's where my mindset would be.
Another outcome that's unsure tomorrow is if Jade Cargill's wrestling attire is going to show up.
She's fine. If there is any human being on planet Earth that is going to help Jade Cargill in a situation where she needs attire, she's got the perfect person. Bianca Belair has been doing her own attire, sewing, building it all up. Honest to goodness, I am a huge fan of Bianca, just because it's not even just because of what she does inside that ring. All the stuff she does outside of the ring. She is an absolute role model. I'm a huge fan of Bianca. I can't say enough great things. And Jade is under the tutelage of the right person. So I'm not really concerned, and helped. I mean, Jade Cargill could show up there in freaking yoga pants and a t-shirt and wrestle and be fine.
Fine.
But it is unfortunate that she lost her luggage, and at least she was kind-hearted to, joke about it on social media. But I'm pretty sure she'll be fine for tomorrow, because she's got the GOAT Bianca Belair in her corner.
Right. All right.
We weren't just talking about Drew.
Yep.
And this is kind of going to segue into something else I have, but it is something that we could segue into. Drew McIntyre earlier this week did an interview, and he talked about the last Clash at the Castle. And he said, and I quote, "At the end of the show, when I sang American Pie with Tyson Fury, that was the worst moment of my life." What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's hyperbole there from Drew. I mean, I'm pretty sure that when he was going through his dark times before he exited WWE, that was probably legit the worst time of his life. That maybe it was unexpected and whatever with Tyson Fury, but
it definitely looked uncomfortable. I remember that specifically because Drew definitely looked like he did not want to be there. He looked like me when I'm at the karaoke and everybody is hammering freaking Creed all night.
Can you take me higher?
They're singing Creed with arms wide open.
Under her the soul high. Yeah.
That is the room of bands. The Creed is the greatest, worst band of all time.
Yeah.
I said what I said, and I meant what I said. And I thought it was interesting, too, because I was like, wait a minute, didn't Drew's mom die? Now, if he had said it was like the worst moment that happened in his wrestling career, I can understand that completely. You lose in the United Kingdom in front of a bunch of people. I'm sure your family was there at the Clash a couple of years ago, too, Drew. You don't get the championship. You just become another peg in the wall of Roman Reigns and that reign. And then you have to go in there and you have to sing with Tyson Fury. That is pretty bad. However, I will say this, Drew. As bad as it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling. In fact, Drew McIntyre, I can tell you right now, without question, I can name 10 things in professional wrestling that I thought was worse than watching you sing American Pie with Tyson Fury. So with that being said, Cousin Jay, it is time for my top 10 list this week.
Okay.
This week's list is the top 10 things in wrestling that were worse than Drew McIntyre singing with Tyson Fury at Clash at the Castle. Number 10, primetime Brian Lee's performance at Clash of the Champions 13.
I mean, it's a legendary performance.
Not everybody could have been the Big Cat. I understand that.
Not everybody's the Big Cat. Not everybody could be the Z-Man.
No, it's on the scale of things, it's the Big Cat, it's Paul Heyman, Jim Ross, and all the way at the bottom is primetime Brian Lee. And right above him are Kalua and the Botswana Beast. Anyway, number 9, since we're on WCW, David Arquette as world champion.
That was a dark time.
We call that the era of shit stain. Number 8, Retribution. The only good thing, thank you. The only good thing we got from Retribution was the slapjack. Side note, Maximum Male Models will be debuting in AEW at any time now. If we thought Mansoor looked like he was dead inside when he was posing in the sportswear as Max Dupree, aka L.A. Knight, was telling everybody to titillate their senses, I can only imagine the look on his face when he has to go one-on-one with Team Jannetty. Number 7, Katie Vick. That's bad. I don't really need to go into that because I think we all know how bad the Katie Vick was.
Yeah.
The only thing that lasted longer than the Katie Vick storyline was Marty Jannetty's most recent marriage. Number 6, this one hurts, Cousin Jay. I might cry when I say this one. Number 6. Ezekiel. Redacted. The wrestler formerly known as Elias.
Can Nicole or Kinsley perhaps get you some mouthwash? Maybe some soap. Rinse out that mouth. Clean it up.
Dust it off. Turn it sideways and stick it up his kitty. Yeah, and the fact that that's 6. That just says something.
It shows you that's professional wrestling at its finest.
And it's crazy too because I haven't even talked about AEW once yet. Number 5, the zombie match that they did at Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania 37.
Oh,
that's not even the worst thing that WWE has done in wrestling on this list. That was just the worst thing they did in a wrestling ring that wasn't who was it? It was Baron Corbin dumping the dog food on Roman Reigns' head.
Right.
And I'll tell you that the old day segment got a lot of love for that, for this list, but they were honorable mention. And Nicole wanted Los Lotharios on this list, and I told her honorable mention because there was so much bad shit in wrestling. Like number 4, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre match from AEW Dynamite. There it is. There's AEW. You actually thought I was going to go a whole episode without ripping on AEW. Shame on you, fans. That match was so awful. I am now convinced it was Tony Khan under the Leatherface mask, chasing Karen Jarrett out of the ring with the bullshit chainsaw. That match was awful. And it wasn't even the worst thing that AEW's ever done. Number 3, speaking of that, the Exploding Ring of Death match. Again, the only person who is excluded from my vitriol of the Exploding Ring of Death match is Eddie fucking Kingston, because number 1, I will not disrespect that man, and number 2, he gave an acting performance that made Tommy Wiseau's performance in the room look like Tommy Wiseau's performance in the room.
Yeah. Well, and his acting was almost as good as Paul Heyman in Clash 13, quite honestly.
Paul Heyman and Jim Ross tried to save that Magic Show fucking debauchery as best as they could, and they both should be in the Hall of Fame. But
well, they are.
I'm talking about our Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
Because JR is probably going in for nailing Missy Hyatt. I feel like putting the wise man in because he is really the biggest. He's the most compelling thing.
You said it, JR.
You said it, JR. But yeah, the Exploding Ring of Death match minus Eddie Kingston's involvement. That's why it's 3 and not 2 or 1. Number 2. I know we hammer Coco Beware at a rampant pace.
Yes.
I know we talk about a lot of Hall of Famers, but I still think that the worst thing that WWE has ever done was put Drew Carey in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, El Jefe. Your father does not belong in the WWE Hall of Fame. Getting into a Royal Rumble, standing there, watching, I think it was the Hardy Boys eliminating themselves, and then shitting your pants when Kane came into the ring. Granted, I too would have shit my pants if the big red machine was heading towards me. I saw what he did to Pete Rose at WrestleMania 14. I'm not stupid. But you eliminating yourself from the Royal Rumble, and then I think you were in a second one and then eliminated yourself again because of Kane, does not warrant you being in the Hall of Fame when people like Cyndi Lauper are not in it. That is the most egregious thing that they've ever done. That's 2 through 10. Cousin Jay, I bet you're not going to get this one because I pulled this one. This is such a blank statement for number 1, but you're still going to laugh.
Okay.
2 through 10 were what they were. Would you care to happen to take a guess at what the numero uno thing is that I said was the worst thing that's ever happened in professional wrestling? Not including Drew versus
I have a couple of directions I could possibly go here. I am going to sit there and flip the coin up in the air like Two-Face, and I think it's going to land on Canadian Destroyer to a fuck doll.
Kenny Omega. I apparently Kota Ibushi did it too. Kenny Omega went 11 minutes with a fuck doll. People were on Twitter the other day saying the worst thing they had ever. What's one thing from wrestling that happened that almost turned you off in the product? And there was at least 7 different people that put the Canadian Destroyer spot between Pentagon Jr. and Orange Cassidy, where they kept hitting each other with Canadian Destroyers, getting up and then hitting the other one, and it was just that. And I said, Kenny Omega took 7, not 1, not 2, 7 Canadian Destroyers from an inanimate object, was covered, and still had the audacity to kick out at 2. Was, and will forever be the worst thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling. Just out of curiosity, what was your other guest going to be?
Well, I thought it was going to be the exploding sneakers, possibly.
That got a lot of consideration, but I said I can't do too many exploding things from AEW, and the wet fart that was the exploding ring of death will take over the exploding sneakers all the time.
Okay.
Just seeing the Bucks is really the worst thing that actually happens in fucking wrestling. Never seen two guys that really thought they were both Shawn Michaels when in actuality they're both nothing more than Marty Jannetty. Fucking
Yeah.
I can't stand them. I can't. And they're feuding with the Acclaimed. Is that what I heard? They're feuding with the Acclaimed. Daddy Corny is right. They just want to play with their friends. They don't want to make money. They don't want to expand the audience. They just want to play tiddlywinks and patty cake with their friends in the ring. That's all there is to it. And once people accept that, then, you know, everything will be right in this world. I'm never going to watch that crap again. Well, no, I take that back. There is one thing they could do that will get me back to being a fan of AEW each and every week. I don't think they would ever physically drag the Bucks out into the ring and then put them out of their misery like Old Yeller for me. So I really do think that there is about as much of a chance of me getting back into AEW as a fan as there is of finding a three-legged ballerina. I got the other line. Oh! That was for you, John Candy. The GOAT.
Yeah.
But yeah, there really is nothing they can do in AEW that will make me want to watch each and every week. However, Ricochet going there, I'm watching two matches. I'm watching him versus Will Ospreay, and I'm watching him versus Swerve. There's no way I'm missing those two matches. I'll take.
What about against Daniel Bryanson? What if he goes against Eddie Kingston or Orange Cassidy?
I think him and Cassidy would be a lot of fun. Eddie, I'm not going to worry about Eddie until May of 2025.
Right.
Bryan Danielson, I don't know how much longer he's got. I don't know if he's just going to be like, I'm just going to wrestle Ricochet. I'm wrestling.
How many random matches do we get that have no build? Every week.
Cousin Jay, they did Daniel Garcia winning a squash match against Nick Camaroto. How Daniel Garcia is squashing anybody, let alone somebody who's literally 3 times his size.
What about Ricochet versus Adam Cole, baby?
I would probably. Yeah.
Or okay. MJF.
MJF's already got his first line bookmarked for when he gets there. I love it. This is going to be great.
Another name that has been bandied about, possibly AEW bound. Honestly, I think there's a decent chance of this happening. One Natty Neidhart. Her contract's up soon. I know she loves WWE and she's been a hell of a hand for WWE. For the most part, at this point, she's kind of an in-ring trainer for everybody. Like I'm talking like they put her in there with the new people just to make sure that they get through whatever match and don't look that bad and don't get hurt, right?
Just remember, she was the one that trained Ronda Rousey when Ronda Rousey first got to WWE, and Ronda actually looked good.
So what I'm going to say is coming up soon in AEW.
It's Owen Hart Cup.
Owen Hart Cup. If her contract's up and she comes to some sort of understanding with Triple Paul and says, I want to honor my uncle. My family has not been able to honor my uncle since 1999. In WWE, we cannot honor my uncle. I would like to go to AEW, sign it, whether it's a short-term deal, 1 year, whatever, do the Owen Hart Cup, and then come back. I don't see that as, like, I think there's a decent possibility of that happening.
I wouldn't rule it out.
what more can she do in WWE that than she's already done? The only thing I can say is I certainly has a lot of camaraderie and probably feels like that's family. That would be the only thing holding her back. But I think the pull of being able to honor her uncle and maybe have some promises of like, you'll win the Owen Hart Cup and you'll get a championship match could be persuasive enough to bring her on board, or at least get to the finals of the Owen Hart Cup and maybe get cheated out of it and lead to some story down the line. Maybe get her more ring time and be able to wrestle with people that she has not had a chance to be in the ring with, who maybe she has some respect for.
Honestly, if she wanted to do the Owen Hart Cup run and then just come, I would be okay with that. If you are a women's wrestler, the last company you're going to is AEW. I'm sorry.
Sure.
What do they have? 2 matches? They have 2 women's matches for Forbidden Door. Some triple threat with some Japanese woman from, I don't even know what promotion she's in. The Sickos.
I think it's Stardom.
It's from Stardom. She's in a triple threat match with Maria May, who is Tony Storm's. I don't even know what the hell's going on anymore. I don't know what's going on. I know Tony Storm is in black and white. Maria May should be on Pornhub. And this other girl's probably has at least 7 OnlyFans accounts. And then they have something with whatever they're going to do with the freaking $15 million car that they have. I'm sorry, Mercedes. And they're like, yeah, that's all they need, the women, for their time. Really? There's 5 matches in Scotland tomorrow, and 2 of them are women's matches. I know that my math isn't as great as Scott Steiner's, but Cousin Jay, if I'm not mistaken, is it 2 out of 5, 40% of the matches?
It is.
So
congratulations.
I learned something from Bristol Eastern's education system, baby. Ugh!
Top 95%.
He was number 2 in your programs and number 219 in his graduating class. He got lost because he was actually surprised he graduated.
Yeah.
He thought it was a prank until the principal handed him his diploma. Dr. Lyons.
Yeah.
But AEW has been typically doing at least 12 to 14 matches in all of these cards. And they're going to have 2. Now, don't ask me what the percentage is.
But I know better than WWE was like 6 or 7 years ago. It is. The booking is about as good as WWE's was of the women's division 6 or 7 years ago. But
I'm just saying, he's had this company for 5 years. He's booking it for the sickos. I'm not going to get that. I'm sorry. Ever since he said that, it's been stuck in my head that he books for the sickos. He hasn't done anything with the women's division in the 5 years. When was the last time we saw Britt Baker on television? Camille, like we just mentioned earlier in the podcast, Camille signed a long-ass time ago. She hasn't done shit. They had Paige Van Zandt. They made a big deal about Paige Van Zandt. She wrestled at one show. They released her. I mean, other than like Tony Storm and that freaking Mercedes, who's getting TV time? I mean, they just randomly brought in Serena Deeb to fight for the AEW World Championship. She didn't do shit for a year. Before Ruby Soho got freaking impregnated by Angelo Parker, she was fighting for the TBS and the Women's Championship in the span of a month and losing both matches. How do you not know what the fuck you're doing? You have 4 shows. You have 4 shows, Tony Khan, and you're telling me you don't have enough time for women? I just don't get. I don't see. I'm sorry, Jay. Her running the Owen Hart Cup, I can see it. Her sticking around AEW, I just don't see it. If she's not getting the television time now in WWE, it's not going to get any better for her in AEW. And it's the same thing with Ricochet. If Ricochet were to go to like TNA or Impact, he'd have a hell of a better run there. He would win the TNA Impact Championship. Natty Neidhart, she went to TNA Impact. Like if she did the Owen Hart Cup and it was like, hey, I'm going to go run an Impact or TNA for a year, I'd say go for it. The Knockouts division is one of the best women's divisions in all wrestling.
And oh, by the way, TNA has a relationship with WWE, so that could be her way of getting back to WWE. That could be a possible way, but I mean, quite honestly, if she did the short run to do the Owen Hart Cup to honor her uncle, I would see her coming back and being a coach very quickly at the Performance Center. She has a house in Florida. She's, her husband's still a producer for WWE. He's still, I hear, delivering Bret Hart his paper. So, he's got that familia connection. So, I think there's a decent opportunity, decent possibility of Natty at the end of this contract, possibly going to TNA and doing the Owen Hart Cup. Another contract that is coming up soon, allegedly, is Booker T.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Can you see the Booker not re-signing?
I cannot believe I'm actually going to say this. Me, of all people, I'm going to say this. Booker T is one of my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, people. I love Booker T. There's a time that you kind of just have to get younger. And you have people, and I'm not taking anything away from Booker T. I really am not, because you know me, and nobody pops for Booker T like I do. I could see them letting Booker T go and bringing somebody in like Big E Langston. I've been talking about how they need to get Big E more involved with other avenues in WWE. I've enjoyed the heck out of him doing the pre-show stuff. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. He's been grossly entertaining. Him and Punk were awesome at WrestleMania and at Backlash. You brought in Big E with that personality, with his ability to talk the way he does, and as smart as he is in the wrestling business, I would love to see Big E with Vic Joseph every Tuesday. Because I think he would bring a different kind of perspective, a little bit younger. I was just in the ring. Not like, Booker T. Yes, I know Booker T probably still gets in the ring now because it's Booker T. But it's like sometimes you just need fresh blood in certain areas. And I really do think that this is one of those spots that they could definitely, afford to get younger. And they finally got rid of Jerry Lawler. I know he's still on the Legends contract, but we're not going to be seeing Jerry Lawler on the pre-shows. We don't see Booker T on the pre-shows anymore. We definitely don't need to see JBL. You have some of these guys, and they can be used in other avenues. You got guys who are producers. Hell, you can have them. They're only producing a match here and there. You can have the Hurricane come out, for crying out loud. You can have the Monster Abyss come out and do a freaking pre-show. You've been using CM Punk. He's been out with an injury. You have all these people. You can use them and utilize them. I think that letting Booker T go, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but letting Booker T go might be a good decision for WWE.
All right.
And it's not a slight in any way, shape, or form against Booker
That's
T.
fine. Yeah, you made that clear. Like,
I'm going to do.
Yeah, with Booker T, he's a dude who has a following. People love him, and quite honestly, he's never been the greatest announcer, but people just love the dude. So
he was a great performer. I loved his in-ring work. I love King Booker, even though I hated King Booker so much that I loved it. And he was a five-time World Heavyweight Champion. And he's 3 more inductions away from being a five-time Hall of Famer.
Right.
Now, can you dig that, sucker? But yeah, I would, It's just because I've been saying for so long they have to find something for Big E, something else for Big E to do. I would love, because I enjoy watching NXT on Tuesdays. I think he would add an element to it that would make it a little bit more enjoyable. That's all.
Okay. All right. So Randy Orton in the past couple of weeks gave an interview, and they asked him specifically about Vince. And at the beginning of his answer, it was pretty complimentary of Vince. And then by the end of his answer, more or less, he's like, I'm happy he's gone. More or less because Vince had no concept of family and had no concept of time off and no concept of hurt bodies the wrestlers deal with. No concept of it. Nope, you just go and work. Well, my kid's graduating from high school. Too bad.
I want to
You
be
got to
home
go
for
and
Christmas.
work. Hey, Christmas is on Monday. Well, we got Monday Night Raw, pal. So, I mean, Randy Orton has never given, he's given 0 Fs for a very long time. And I'm glad that he came out and said it. I mean, quite honestly, we've been saying that for a long time, that they should almost have a rotating schedule where guys get time off to go home, heal up, because it will make them more viable for a longer time. You know, as much as Roman Reigns showing up every once in a while was a pain in the ass, with him being the champion, we will have Roman Reigns around a lot longer in the ring by the fact that he was not taking bumps 230 days a year for the last 2 years.
I've enjoyed
or 400 days a year for the last 2 years.
I will say this: the one thing I was happy about WWE was the fact that they lightened the schedule, because they were like doing 300, almost 350 days a year. They were traveling. They were very rarely home. The fact that WWE over the years has dropped it down to like 200. I know it's not that big of a deal, but they have done things where they will take a week off for Christmas, and they'll take a week off here. But yes, you'll be on the road for 17 straight days wrestling in Europe and Asia. But it seems like they've kind of cut down on that as much.
And they pre-tape at least SmackDown now when they're going overseas, which was something, again, we talked about on this show a long time ago, because you would end up watching whatever show when they went halfway around the world, and it would be crap. And I have no blame on the performers, because they were just in a plane for, like 10 hours after performing the night before. And then they are in a completely different time zone and have to perform at a weird time. It was a recipe for disaster and having bad shows. As much as the stuff in Saudi Arabia, they tried to make a big spectacle. It's like the shows were garbage.
Yeah.
I have not watched any of the recent ones, but before, when I was still watching them, it was, the dastardly Voldemort still in control and not giving them a damn day off. And forcing them to do the live show on Friday night, fly halfway across the world to do a show the next night.
The few matches that I have seen from the last few Saudi shows, they were actually pretty good. But, I had to watch Gunther and Randy Orton, and that match was just excellent. And LA Knight and Randy Orton, or not Randy Orton, LA Knight and Roman Reigns for the title in Saudi Arabia was awesome. They've done a little bit better of a job. It's not as bad as watching the Brothers of Destruction and DX in their 80s wrestling in a tag team match. That was just not good. But I agree. I think it is good that they're... I'm going to say this, and I said this about Monday Night Raw earlier. The best thing that has ever happened to WWE was Vince McMahon, 86th. Vince McMahon, being Vince McMahon, finally caught up to him. He lost his company. Now the person who is in charge, thank God, is the person who is in charge. Because none of this would be happening if Triple Paul was not running the ship. Every single person is coming out and they are saying nothing but positive things about Triple H. Triple H cares about the wrestlers. Triple H does all this stuff. Paul Heyman said from now on, I am a Paul Levesque guy. Bayley came out and did an interview this week. I think it was either today or yesterday. And she said it. She goes, that's the best part about working in WWE now is Triple H is in charge. Because Triple H is always around. Triple H is always seen. Triple H is always giving people ideas. He's always listening. His door is always open to all of the wrestlers. That's what they need. They need, what's the word I'm looking for? They need structure. You can't be showing up the day of the show and Vince was like, yeah, brother, hey, pal, I got to change the script over here. And then just completely rewrite everything 45 minutes before the show starts. Janelle Grant is the greatest thing that has ever happened to WWE, and I hate the fact that I have to say it that way. Because if it wasn't for her and this whole lawsuit with Vince McMahon being a piece of shit, I can only imagine what WWE would look like right now. There would be, I tell you right now, there'd be no LA Knight and there'd be no Gunther. And Monday Night Raw would still suck. So,
All right. You did mention Bayley. Medusa did an interview and actually gave Bayley high praise, calling her the best wrestler of the Four Horsewomen.
I'm sorry, who said this?
Medusa. Alundra Blaze said she was the best of the Four Horsewomen. And one Piper Niven also said she is the Shawn Michaels of the women's division because everybody who steps in the ring with her is better because she's there. I mean, that's very high praise from two people who certainly know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know if I would say she's a better performer than Charlotte Flair, but
she's better in the ring.
She's a better character than Charlotte Flair, 100%.
She's the best character of all of the Four Horsewomen. I'm sorry, I love big time Bex. Becky's really good on the mic. She's okay in the ring as long as she doesn't do her running, you know, arm attacks. I can't. Ugh. It's like watching Shane McMahon punch. Ugh. She's not a better in-ring performer than Charlotte Flair. There's not a lot of guys in WWE who are better performers than Charlotte Flair. And that's probably the most.
It's like Gunther.
Yeah, that's the ultimate compliment I can give Charlotte is that she's one of the best performers in the ring. I will never take that away from her. Bayley, as opposed to all the other ones, is the most well-rounded total package. Yes, Sasha was a better in-ring performer than Bayley. Bayley destroys her on the microphone. Bayley destroys her as a character. She's kind of neck and neck. She's a little bit better. I think between her and Becky and any given night, one of them two is the best on the microphone. Bayley's better in the ring than her. Bayley's definitely a better character than Charlotte. Charlotte's the best wrestler of all of them. She's the best wrestler in the entire women's division in all of wrestling.
Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea Ripley may be better than her in the ring.
I think Rhea Ripley's a bigger star. I tell you right now, Charlotte Flair is the closest thing to an automatic that you have that's going to have a. She's like AJ Styles. Charlotte Flair could have a 4-star match with a mop, and it would be entertaining.
Rhea Ripley had a decent match with Nia Jax. What more can I say?
We'll see this. Because if Bayley retains the championship tomorrow, we all know what's down the line at SummerSlam. I don't think I need to emphasize my point on that. We know what's down the line. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see Nia Jax. They're like, oh, she's doing great as a queen. Are you fucking high? She's a great performer. What? Somebody did a thing. It was like, which one of these people would you get rid of? And it was a list. I don't remember what the other names were. It was Nia Jax was on the list. And I was like, Nia Jax is anybody else who says anybody else on this list that's not Nia Jax doesn't know wrestling. She's gotten better in the ring. What? She almost killed poor Leia Valkyrie and freaking Queen of the Ring.
Saudi Arabia, yeah.
She's awful. She is awful. The only reason she is there is who she's related to. Oh.
Speaking of that relation, during the filming of his movie The Smashing Machine, The Rock burst the bursa sac in his elbow, and he posted a picture of it on Instagram. It looked pretty nasty.
It did. I saw it.
It looked reminiscent, like the coloring on his elbow was like Cody Rhodes' pectoral muscle. It was gross. The Rock said, hey, you know what? It's all right. It's healing. You know, no real soft tissue damage. It'll be fine. So, and also more or less saying, oh, yeah, we're at the 1 yard line and you know, we're going to make WrestleMania 41 the biggest ever. And the dude has 2 main event level storylines that he could do. It's a matter of if WWE wants to pull the trigger on a Roman Reigns match or a Cody Rhodes match. I think the Cody Rhodes match will come first.
Roman Reigns. Because if the rumors are that they're going to do Solo is the next one up for Cody Rhodes. It's not even the best member of the freaking bloodline. Sorry. And they do that at SummerSlam. They're doing Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41. That is the biggest match that you can. And everybody's complaining. Everybody's crying. Well, you know, Cody Rhodes isn't as big of a deal. He's been feuding. He's had the title for 2 months. 2 months. My God. Daniel Bryanson was so right all those years ago. Wrestling fans are fickle. All you did was whine and cry about how Roman Reigns was never there as champion. So they finally took the title off of him after you whined and cried and complained and put it on Cody Rhodes. So now you're complaining about that. You don't like the fact that now you all miss Roman Reigns. Are you fucking kidding me? Y'all are sitting there fighting the wrong battles. All you people are either crying that Cody's a boring champion or all that stuff. The real battle is that Ludwig Kaiser's a piece of shit is what he is. And I swear, oh, you don't do that to Sheamus, you asshole.
It's a shameful thing.
He attacked my hero Sheamus 2 weeks ago on Raw. I can't believe I actually remember shit that happened on Raw. I can't believe I'm actually watching Monday Night Raw on Monday night and not wanting to put a bullet in my skull after 12 minutes.
Right.
It's got to be because of the fact they're not doing 47-minute long freaking promos to start the show anymore. And then the first match gets 12 commercial breaks.
All right. So in the chat, Chris Brown saying Dwayne Cody at Survivor Series, Dwayne Roman at Mania. I think the timeline is off. Chris, as much as that's really where The Rock debuted and what have you in 1996, The Rock and Cody is a stadium-worthy match. It would happen at Royal Rumble.
I mean,
it would happen at Royal Rumble. They wouldn't put it at Survivor Series unless they wanted to put it in Saudi Arabia.
They haven't announced have they announced where they're doing Survivor Series yet?
No, but I don't think they're going to be doing it in a stadium.
I mean, why not?
If they wanted to make it a stadium show, they could possibly have The Rock do that. If they were doing, but I'm guessing they've announced where they're doing it. Because I'm sure it's somewhere.
I could see that happening. If I'm being honest,
I don't think so.
If they were going to do that, they could do that at Survivor Series where they do because it could be a co-main event.
It'd be a waste of The Rock's star power if it's not in the stadium.
You can have The Rock versus Cody for the WWE Championship as one part of the main event, and then you can have the new Bloodline versus the old Bloodline in War Games. Because now. Because we were all wondering, like, who all these people are going to be entering into the bloodline. Apparently, Haku's other son, Hikalua, who's going to be like Tala Tonga, because I get it, he's tall, so I guess Tala Tonga. He's going to be he just had his last commitment with New Japan, and he's basically WWE bound. And everybody, and of course, that's another thing that people are crying about. Oh, how many more Samoans are they going to keep bringing in?
If they're good at bringing in as many as you want.
I know the people have been sitting there in Tonga Toa or whatever, not Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, whatever, Hunico or Epico, whatever the hell the dude when the bicycle was. I know they've been crushing him. My God, Tama Tonga is awesome. I've been enjoying Tama Tonga. He's my favorite person on SmackDown now. I've enjoyed the hell out of him. The dude, he gets it, and he's been killing it. I don't care what anybody says. Tama Tonga is my tribal chief. It's not Solo Sikoa. It is Tama Tonga, the right-hand man. And I love the fact that they're bringing in Hikalua. You're going to have all of them. They could be part of the bloodline. Then you could do Jimmy and Jay as part of the, as part of the new bloodline. They could team up with Roman, and that's how you can bring in Jacob Fatu. If you're worried about Jacob Fatu coming in and being a bigger deal than Solo Sikoa, rightfully so, by the way. Sorry. Jacob Fatu, it would be a much bigger deal and more polarizing than his brother Solo. Or his cousin Solo. I don't even know which
cousin.
There's too many of them.
He is, I believe, Samu's son.
Okay. Is he the one? So he's not Umanga's son?
No.
That's
Samu. What was tag team partners with Rikishi, with the Samoan SWAT team and the Head Shrinkers.
I low key, I love the Samoan SWAT team and the Head Shrinkers. One of my favorite tag teams from the 90s. I've been fucking with Fatu for a long time.
Their matches with the Steiners in the early 90s were fire.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they wrestle at WrestleMania one year? The Head Shrinkers and the Steiner brothers?
I don't know if they did WrestleMania or not. It sounds right.
I want to say it was like 8. I would say 9, but God only knows there was only one good match on that card. And I actually remember the Head Shrinkers and the Steiners actually having a really good match.
Ezekiel, if you're asking about SmackDown started about 20 minutes ago. If you're talking about Clash at the Castle is tomorrow. This is our prediction show for Clash at the Castle. And Clash at the Castle tomorrow, I believe, has a pre-show that starts at 1:30, and the show itself starts at 2. 2 in the Eastern Time in the United States.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'm excited for it. I really am, because this is the most excited I've been for WWE since Stone Cold Steve Austin was opening up cans of whoop ass on a weekly basis. This is really good shit. I'm so fully vested, because it's not even just the new Bloodline storyline that they've been doing. It's not just what they're doing with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I love everything, and that's another person who's been getting a lot of like negative feed or remarks from the fans is Liv Morgan. How everybody's like, oh, she's mid. Are you kidding me? The Spooky Pals was so stupid 2 years ago, and now it's the most compelling story in WWE right now. Everything that they've done with that whole thing has been aces. I've enjoyed it so much. WWE has a lot of good stuff going on. I really am excited for the future of all these shows that they're going to do. I'm curious how they're going to book War Games for Survivor Series. I'm curious to see when they're going to do Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. I'm curious when they're going to see Rock versus Roman. I'm curious to see when the Usos get back together. I can't wait for Punk to get back in the ring. There's so much stuff going on, and I am so happy and excited for it. One of the things that I really am not as excited for as I could be is it looks like this coming Monday on Raw, we finally get the Wyatt Six debut. What are your thoughts on whatever they're going to do with the Wyatt Six? Has it kind of cooled off a little bit? You think they waited too long to pull the trigger to make it happen? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think they've gone too long with this, and as much as I think Uncle Howdy there does not have the gravitas that Bray did. Has not built up the love that Bray did with the WWE Universe. They may give him a shot. They may give this group a shot because they know it's a tribute to Bray.
Right.
But if they don't make a strong debut and have a strong reasoning beyond being a tribute, it's going to fizzle out
Like Retribution.
quicker than anything. It's going to be worse than Retribution.
I feel bad for Dexter Lumis. I really do, because the dude deserves so much more, because he's a lot better than what they're giving him. That's why he's really the only reason I want to see what they do with this Wyatt 6. That, and to see, it'd just be kind of refreshing to see Eric Redbeard pull a wedgie out of his freaking butt again, because that was fun. And who knows, maybe now that the Jinder's gone, maybe we get our stairs match 2.0, just like we got a third Punjabi prison.
I highly doubt we get another stairs match, but
You don't know, Cousin Jay.
you never know. You never know.
We could get Eric Rowan versus Bron Breakker in a stairs match.
All right. Chris Brown thinks Wyatt 6 versus Spooky Pals on Raw going forward. And that's how they're going to turn Spooky Pals face. I mean, is it possible that Spooky Pals get involved or Wyatt 6 get involved tomorrow? And that could jumpstart it? Maybe. As much as they put the thing out there that oh, yeah, we'll see on Monday. We'll see. That they've been doing much better with surprises in recent years. It's possible that this Uncle Howdy's going to come here and across the pond, maybe have a water bottle. Maybe throw some water on Damian Priest, distract him. Distraction roll-up victory for Drew McIntyre in front of the Scottish crowd. But yeah, it's let's pull the trigger with this and let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's see what they can do. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it's going to go well. I hope I'm wrong.
I don't think it's going to be as bad as Retribution, but I also don't think it's going to be as good as what the Nexus could have been. If that's a fair assessment.
Sure.
I couldn't really think of any other stable coming in that was I'm not going to say the NWO, because there's no way. I mean, they don't have the star power to do an NWO type of. I mean, Joe Gacy, Eric Redbeard, Dexter Lumis, Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross. This is.
You don't believe in them?
This, I hate to say it, this Wyatt 6 is very reminiscent of the Hart Foundation 2.0 when it was Davey Boy Smith's son, the Anvil's daughter, and Bret Hart's Paperboy.
What if they have a member that we're not talking about? What if?
I mean, technically, because they are the
What
Wyatt
if
6.
an F and Marks Hall of Famer was part of said group?
Not just any.
Not just any.
This F and Marks Hall of Famer right here is what you're talking about?
Yes. And what if he joins the group and talks about what happened at the Royal Rumble all those years ago really damaged him, and he just needed to join the team.
So he can have his come to Jesus moment with Eric Rowan.
Yes.
Because Eric Rowan was the one who attacked him in the
Yes.
2015 Royal Rumble, and the fact that Curtis Axel was still alive in said Royal Rumble.
Yes.
That right there at that point I would say that it is NWO class. But that's just because it's me. Also, if they did that swerve and Curtis Axel was the 6th member of the Wyatt Six, I will assure you that Jim Ross will be waiting until next year to get into the F and Marks Hall of Fame. And anybody else that would be up for consideration for the F and Marks Hall of Fame this year would be up for it next year. And we're just going to put Curtis Axel in there again.
Mm-hmm.
And he could be the first 2-time F and Marks Hall of Famer.
Right.
I would love to see that. Honestly, if they brought in Braun Strowman, I'd have no issue with that. But I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's been playing. I'm being nice to Rey Mysterio and all this. I don't know what the hell they're doing with him. I don't think he knows what they're doing with him. I'm still waiting for him to shove JD Funko Pop in the freaking box and shove him on the shelf. That's what I'm waiting for because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
One thing that I finally did get, I will get into later on in the podcast, but I did get one little thing that made me happy this week, and I'm going to get into that later on.
Okay.
I have no more notes myself, Cousin Jay. Do you have anything else?
I don't think there's anything super noteworthy that I have. Like, I have other notes, and I'm like going, you know what? Not a big enough deal. We're good.
Unless, hold on, anybody, real quick, before we get into predictions, has Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair done anything stupid since we started doing the podcast? If no, we can get into predictions. Nothing? Okay, good.
Okay.
I think it's time to do some Clash at the Castle 13 predictions.
Right.
All right. First thing up, we'll go right. We'll just go right for the meat of it. Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Championship.
I think I'm going with Sami Zayn.
That's 2 for Sami Zayn.
Okay.
Otis is going to cost Chad Gable the title tomorrow. Book
Yeah, I think Chad might be trying to do something dastardly, and Otis is going to stop him.
I agree. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Triple threat women's tag team match for the titles.
I'm still not 100% entirely convinced that Bianca is not pregnant. Even though she's wrestled since then, if a medical professional says, hey, no chance of harming the child, you could probably still do this for another month or 2, it's okay. That could be a way of them losing the titles where they don't get pinned. It's a possibility of something like that happening. All that being said, I'm going to go with Bianca and Jade.
That's my lock. Bianca and Jade.
Okay.
And it's as much as I would love to have Isla Dawn and Alba Fire win it because they're both from Scotland. Not everybody from Scotland's winning tomorrow.
Right.
But yeah, I got to go with them. They're my favorite tag team in WWE now, so I'm going Jade and Bianca, and they're my lock.
Okay.
Women's Championship match: Bayley versus Piper Niven.
So one thing that was in chat that you did not see is Bayley lost tonight. Yeah.
To whom?
Yeah.
Who did Bayley lose to tonight?
To Piper Niven. Yeah. So booking tells me, this is the Vince McMahon School of Booking, is tomorrow Bayley is going to win. 100% chance. Bayley wins.
Did she lose clean?
That I don't know.
Fuck me. All right.
Chris Brown also believes Bayley retains.
Bayley's retaining now, yeah. God, I'm going to find out. I have a feeling you're not going to be very happy. Although if Chelsea Green cost the match, then that's all bets are off. Chelsea Green cannot do anything wrong.
It was not a clean finish.
Okay, then that's fine. I can live with that. All right. Cody Rhodes versus the phenomenal AJ Styles in an I Quit match for the WWE Championship.
I'm going to go with this one as my lock of tomorrow is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is not losing the title this soon. As much as AJ Styles did his best Mark Henry impression, it was not that good.
Cody Rhodes said he's going full on Homelander tomorrow. I was going to make him my lock, but I couldn't do it to Bianca and Jake. Sorry. They're gonna milk that freaking cow that they got from AEW as much as they can. Jade's gonna win every fucking match that she possibly can. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, Cody's going over on AJ Styles. This is the one that I am not sure you and I are going to agree on.
Okay.
Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, World Heavyweight Championship. Drew is at a massive advantage as the challenger in this match. Who do you got?
I'm going with Drew. Going with Drew. You know, he had his moment at WrestleMania winning the title and then getting embarrassed because he let his temper and his personal animosity with CM Punk get the better of him. He was robbed of getting his, true WrestleMania moment of beating Brock Lesnar as a babyface a couple years ago at WrestleMania. He is now in front of his hometown crowd. He lost in front of them a couple years ago. I think he gets the hero's return and he gets the hero's victory. Drew McIntyre walks out the heavyweight champion.
In the words of the legendary Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Priest wins, retains the championship. CM Punk gets involved.
Okay.
Cost Drew the title. I was going to do the whole thing where either Drew's going to win by disqualification but lose, not win the title. Drew is not walking out with the World Heavyweight Championship tomorrow. So I'm just going to say it's Damian Priest with a hockey assist from CM Punk.
Okay.
And they may or may not beat the snot out of him if he doesn't.
All right.
That's it for the predictions. I guess it's time for the good,
the bad,
and the brainless.
Yeah.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
Now this technically happened last week, but we didn't do the show last week. I've got to go with Randy Orton giving 0 Fs and giving an interview and more or less saying, I'm glad Vince is gone. It sucked when he was here. More or less saying my back ended up in the shape it's in because of Vince and his unbending of hey, I really could use some time off. Nope, you're going to work, pal. So Randy Orton coming out and saying it like it is.
Okay, I like it.
How about you?
I'm going with NXT.
Okay.
They had an incredible Battleground pay-per-view last week at the UFC, whatever the hell it was, the Spectrum or...
the Apex.
The Apex, thank you. It was a pretty solid show. Main event was a little lackluster. Jordan Grace and freaking Roxanne Perez absolutely killed it. Show, all in all, was really good. The women's ladder match for the North American Championship was a little too predictable. I was a little underwhelmed by that one, too. All in all, it was a pretty solid show. However, on Tuesday, the American Nightmare was on NXT. And he had a situation where he came across 3 specific people. Shawn Spears, Lexis King, and Ethan Page. Before the show started, I told Brainless wife, I said, it would make me so happy. Now that Cody's in NXT, if they were to get a picture taken with him, Ethan Page, Brian Pillman Jr., and Shawn Spears. I mean, it would be even better if Jade Cargill and CM Punk were in there, but I'll just take whatever I can get. And then I saw it the next day that they got the picture. So it just goes to show you that even though he has two eyes on the prize, two different prizes, mind you, Shawn Michaels also has an ear on this podcast and everything that I say. So good on NXT for being good for this week. I really enjoyed it, and I just love the fact that I'm thrilled that Ethan Page is in NXT. Thrilled. Yeah. What do you got for your bad?
Hulk Hogan's beer. It's funny, and the way he talks about it is funny. He's about 4 or 5 years late to the beer game. Hey, good on him for trying. Maybe something will happen about this. But when he thinks beer is going to bring world peace, has he seen the Family Guy episode where they were in Ireland and it was like 500 years in the past and they were getting ready to like cure aging? And then they discovered whiskey. And then all progress was lost. Hulk Hogan, beer, it's not going to solve the world's problems.
Brother.
Not today.
Neither would be beating up L. Ron Hubbard.
Right. So Hulk Hogan in his beers, a dollar late, day late, dollar short. That gets my bad for this week, but I greatly enjoyed his interview.
Every time he talks, it's just great because it's entertaining. Whether he's talking about Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea's penis size, or how many days he wrestled in a year, or how he killed Andre the Giant and still hung out with John Belushi and got drunk.
Or was almost the basis of Metallica. Yeah.
And almost played for the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals.
Elvis was a fan.
And he found Simon Cowell.
Yeah. What is your bad?
My bad for this week was during the Roxanne Perez and Jordynne Grace match for the NXT Women's Championship on Sunday. They decided they were going to do a bit where two women, one from NXT and one from TNA, were going to go out and go after the championship. I think it was Ariana Grace. I could be mistaken. I don't remember exactly who it was for the NXT one. I laughed my ass off so hard when I found out who they were sending from Impact TNA. One, Ash by Elegance. FKA Dana Brooke. FKA El Jefe. I'm sorry, F and Mark's Hall of Famer El Jefe's schoolmate from high school. And it's not because of the fact that they chose her. It's because of the fact that they chose her. And the NXT fans, you can either say remembered her or didn't remember her because the crowd went wild. They could not have given two shits, a rat's ass, or a flying fuck that Dana Brooke was in the match as Ash, or outside interfering in the match as Ash by Elegance, because nobody cared about her. She was on WWE. So that gets my bad for this week. I did find out they are doing a battle royal because Cody Rhodes announced it on NXT this week. I found out they're doing a battle royal next week to determine the number one contender for Trick's title, and people from other promotions will be there. And I found out that there is one person from a certain universe that is very broken who will be taking part in that NXT battle royal next week. And I cannot wait because I will pop if Broken Matt Hardy is in NXT next Tuesday. Wonderful. And they may or may not have gone to the Hardy compound last night.
So just another quick little note tidbit. It seems as if WWE and Pro Wrestling Noah have a deal that is imminent. We don't know exactly what the deal is going to be. I don't know if this means they're going to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome. Probably not. But I think that's pretty interesting.
And the best part is it's going to go hand in hand with my Brainless this week.
Okay.
But speaking of which, I think this is great. I love the fact that WWE is doing all these cross-promotion things with all these other wrestling promotions. I love the fact they're doing the TNA thing. Jordynne Grace came out and said that she wants to do a cross-promotion pay-per-view. Yes, sign me up. I want to see that. I don't care. I did a top 10 list of all the matches I want to see. If they did something like that, I would be on board with that. I love the fact that they're doing this thing with Wrestle Noah. I love how they're doing all this stuff with WWE. How they're sending their wrestlers, because I want to say Io Sky just challenged somebody on Monday who wrestles in, I think, one of the promotions out in Japan too. She got announced for that, and this girl's like, "Oh my God, this is my dream match. Is Io Sky." Triple H is the best thing that's ever happened to WWE, and you cannot tell me differently. But what do you got for your Brainless?
Ric Flair. I mean, what else is there to say? Ric Flair opens his mouth, most likely after he's had an awful lot to drink, and says something really stupid. And then he continues to say stupid things, and then he sobers up and talks to people who have some sense about them, and then he apologizes for the stupid things he's done. He's done that quite a lot lately. So, Ric Flair.
Got the Brainless.
I hope I think his chances of finding Jesus are less than Marty Jannetty's. I'll just put it that way, because I think Ric Flair thinks like, I'm doing all right.
Wrong. Cousin Jay, you can't be right when you're wrong. You and I both know he found Jesus because he was around back in the days of Jesus. So obviously he found Jesus over 2,000 years ago.
True.
Thank you. You could say that about any other wrestler in the wrestling industry, and I would believe you. There's two people in the wrestling industry. If you said they need to find Jesus and they won't, I'm not gonna agree with you. I'm gonna argue with you, because Ric Flair and Bobby Fish have both seen Jesus in their lives. And it's not because they had near-death experiences. It's because Bobby Fish and Ric Flair have been around long enough since the days of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just thinking when you said Ric Flair, all I could think about was Nicholas Dickhead? That and the Sickos comment. But speaking of the Sickos comment, it's time for the Brainless ones. Brainless for this week. And no surprise whatsoever when you live the gimmick as much as I have, even with a 1 week sabbatical and I had 2 weeks to come up with a Brainless. Cousin Jay, I bet you're going to be surprised when I tell you AEW got my Brainless once again. This has got to be a record.
I mean, for a show you don't watch, you have a lot of hate for them.
It's the gift that keeps on giving every single week, because no matter what, there's 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and as long as AEW is running, I have unlimited ammunition for Brainless and bad every week. And this week is no exception. I thought it was funny that this man, who was probably coked out of his mind, at 1 o'clock in the morning, tweeted out that I booked for the Sickos because I am a sicko. That was one thing. Another thing was the fact that he claims that WWE was feeding false information about collision numbers to Forbes magazine. Does he really think that Triple H and Nick Khan have this kind of time to just be in pettiness? To be like, yeah, they only did 120,000. Really? I just don't see AEW doing this.
I can see WWE doing that. I mean, it feels more like something from the old regime. But the thing is, the old regime was technically still there up until, January?
Something like
it's
that.
highly possible. Highly possible. The dastardly Voldemort said, hey, buddy, I need you to say this about AEW, because look what they did to MLW.
Fair enough.
I mean, they prevented them from getting TV deals, and MLW ended up winning $20 million.
Fair enough. But because I'm lumping everything with AEW, I could go on and on about the fans I'm not going to go to. Tony Khan did an interview and was asked what his thoughts were about WWE and TNA working as a partnership. And he came out and said, and I quote, AEW, we've done so much with all of these other promotions between New Japan and CMLL and AAA and all this stuff. We are really the promotion out there that's doing all great things and all this stuff. And he just talked about AEW. He deferred from that question like I was asked of me.
It's weird that on TV, the performers always talk WWE, but when Tony Khan is asked specifically about WWE, he goes nothing but into branding mode of like talking how and it's true, it's damn true that they're the ones who were the first ones who said, yeah, cut this crap. We're going to wrestle with other promotions. We're going to make deals with other promotions, and we're going to, make it better for the fans. It's true. And he could tout that. And the thing is, he's right for touting that. He's right for touting his company. But usually when WWE does stuff, they do it better. We'll see what happens with TNA. We'll see what happens with Pro Wrestling Noah. But generally, WWE does it better.
I'm just curious. They asked him a legitimate, serious question that he could have given an answer on, and he deflected and went to something else and talked about himself as he normally would. However, less than 2 months ago, he was on the NFL Network. Didn't even have to mention WWE and called them Harvey Weinstein.
Very true.
So you can't have it both ways. You can't go out there and try to sell a pile driver that you ate 24 hours before that started the NFL draft. Yes, you wore a neck brace, but you were moving around like it was nothing, like I was trying to sell it. Maybe take a lesson or two from Samoa Joe on how to sell things, Tony. And then you do an interview with the NFL Network the Friday of the draft, and then you call WWE Harvey Weinstein. Not Vince McMahon, WWE, a whole company. Harvey Weinstein. And then when they ask you a question about your competitor, well, we've been doing this and this. No. I'm sorry. As long as that coked out freak is running that show, as long as the Jannetty boys are wrestling on that show, and as long as their fans keep giving me grief on a day-to-day basis, and they do, it's like arguing with Yankee fans, Cousin Jay. Except they're not talking about 27 championships. But with all that being said, as long as all of that is part of AEW, I will forever, ever keep them as my Brainless every single week after week.
Okay.
So that is why they got my Brainless this week, because Tony Khan makes it too easy for me.
All right.
Anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, X, follow us on the Gram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKSTFM Marks. If you'd like, follow and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you'll be notified that we are live, whether it's on the Facebooks, whether it's on the YouTubes, or whether it's on the X. So you could join the conversation and talk about our favorite sport that we all love to hate, professional
all elite wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes, I left the Jets out of this because I laughed my ass off because somebody posted the butt fumble earlier today. Sorry. One of my favorite plays. I don't care. Anytime something stupid happens to the Jets, it's fucking great. Sorry. But anyway, I think that is it.
Yeah.
I think we touched base on all the notes. I think
we did.
We got predictions in.
We did.
I got my top 10 list. I got to mention Slapjack.
Right.
And Class 13.
Yeah.
And we did our good, bad, and brainless. I think we've covered all of the bases for this episode this week.
Absolutely.
And I almost gave myself the early shot at being my brainless one. I almost put it upside down backwards. Hello, Curtis Axel. Hello, brainless one. I heard a rumor from a very reliable source. He's my co-host of this wonderful podcast, who told me that you may or may not be a member of the Wyatt Six. And now I'm going to hold out hope that you are part of the Wyatt Six so that I can actually have something to root for in the Wyatt Six other than just Dexter Loomis. Well, brainless one, I hate to break it to you, but there's a good chance I'm not going to be in the Wyatt Six. However, I can tell you one thing. What is that, Curtis Axel? It's because today, June 14th of 2024, at an astonishing 3,428 days, I, after Mark Hall of Fame, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Down, 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 down,
for episode 363 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
And I am the brainless one. Oh, that didn't sound good. Let me get another one. And I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out
With your guac out. See everyone. Enjoy Clash at the Castle. Enjoy SmackDown. We will see you next week.
Yeah.
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 Yeah.